Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Um, Episode 3. Going to focus on purpose, um, desire, and longing, and kind of where they all meet. Or I'll try to focus. I don't tend to focus on what I start out with, but see what happens. Hope you're enjoying the content. Um, Thank you to those that have reached out, and I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that it resonates for you. And I think we're all seeking. We all get confused about our purpose. Sometimes our career can, the thing that we're trying to make money at, becomes our purpose. That can be really confusing and bring a lot of heartache eventually. Because that I don't see how that could ever work long term. That's not sustainable, right? So purpose is more abstract. It's not something associated with income or status or ego, right? Because the ego death takes away the ego, and the purpose needs to be remaining. So if like you're a if you're a rights activist, or your purpose is tied up in your career, then it's going to be very difficult for you to have a sustainable journey and be a healthy older person, right? Because the mind starts, the goal that I'm trying to help with people is that they live their long life, and that they stay lucid all the whole life, their whole life, and not only lucid, but our goal when you get old is to become, instead of becoming fragile, you become ethereal. And the ethereal part of you is where you start to really reflect on your life and do the recapitulation and do this more deeper dive and check in with nature and really go, and so I'm hoping that my suggestion to do these things sooner than later will eventually take hold, and you'll feel a calling to do it because it's so worth doing. Because our gift is, when we get old, is really unique. Our capacity to feel, our capacity to reflect, and these are key things that if we could do in our youth would keep us from ever really actually getting old. We would just get more ethereal as we age. We'd become more interesting, more knowledgeable. And there are people that do this. We live in a society where everybody that gets old becomes, you know, kind of, what do we do with them? Where do we put them? What do we, how are we supposed to kind of deal with this? And it should have never happened like that, but it is the way it is. Um, and there is a point where, we as we go to die. For me, my goal is that I would walk off into the wilderness and sing my spirit up and leave intentionally, right? Or do something even more dynamic. And so I don't think what is available to us, or what we're told is the way to go is holistic. And so none of it's based on really well um, rounded concepts and feelings and balance and harmony. So we're going to move back toward that, though, hopefully. And um, it's going to be a long haul. It's going to be a difficult sort of work for each of us to return to balance in every way that we can within the system that we find ourselves in. And so purpose ends up being something you want to have that's sustainable, that is abstract, that is yours, that has nothing to do with anyone else or any information or any storylines or any illusions or any fears or desire. But to get to your purpose, don't you need to know about your desire? Wouldn't you need to know where your passion is and what the difference between intent and wishing? The difference between things like love and obsession and uh, like, how can you love something if you don't love yourself? And how many of you really, really, truly love yourselves? How can you love yourself if you saying things about yourself that you aren't, that are not loving? And so it's time to come to terms with it. And if you only are saying things about yourself that are loving, it's incredible. If you're so vain, though, that you're telling yourself things that aren't real, you're keeping an illusion maintained, and you need others to maintain that illusion, right? If you feel self-love when you're alone and you can spend lots and lots and lots and lots of time alone, and it only gets stronger, and you don't go into depression, you're good. Um, but reality is that's not usually the case. So really come to terms with where you're at. Be honest. We are social creatures, but that doesn't mean we need social interaction in order to be whole. And at some point, we need to check in with where we're really at. And it's okay if you think that you need people and that that's the way humanity works and that we shouldn't deviate from that. I understand. I'm just asking. It doesn't have to be long that you spend alone. It has to do with how long can you sit with yourself. How long can you just be? And then what comes up for you when you do that? And then what are the distractions that you seek? And then how is your purpose tied to that? And we're all going to have to go through this. We all have, like, you know, most people have increased the amount of screen time in their lives, especially during this change of guard, this transition we're in. Um, there's been a lot of information available. There's been a lot of people have stayed the same and don't even know that we're in a change. That's fascinating. Learn from those people too. Like when I go to work, I learn from everybody. Every archetype gives me something. I look for their purpose, their higher purpose. I look for their amazing qualities and gifts. And so, like the guy that can't, I have a friend I work with, he doesn't like to go home. He just doesn't know what to do. So he likes to be at work and he stays and works long hours and that's how he is. And I just love it. I'm like, thank you, dude. You're teaching me how to be that. I feel for him. I try to, I say things that could eventually maybe help, but it's just the way everyone has their thing. But there's that, even though that's obviously an issue and it's out of balance for him and whatnot, it's like an energy I can borrow from and use when I need to be that guy. And then there's just all kinds. There's also the guy that's never worked a day in his life, and the amount of freedom he has is so really legit, incredible that it's worth being around, even though it's just sort of almost disturbing how undeveloped aspects of his being are. And so being able to know those extremes and be cool with it and be able to chat with everybody and not create, like, not be above or below anyone, um, is super liberating in every respect. You can go into any bar, any rest. You can do the things that, there's just no limitations. What companies you work for, what jobs you take. So spirit can guide you, take you into situations that help you unlock and actually resolve things for other people. So if you're of service, sometimes you get taken into situations like that. And I've done that recently. I didn't mean to. It wasn't me, but I got used as a way in which this tyrant was dismantled from this large company because he went after me, and I was prepared. I knew kind of what to do because I'd embodied this teachings around how you resolve things through very particular way of behavior with people, and it's kind of like a martial art where you just let them, because they're in a place that's out of balance, they will eventually expose that imbalance. And so you just stay out of the way and you listen and you're really attuned to each moment and things will happen and you'll see, oh wow, this is happening, it's getting set up. You can almost see the drama happening and it just starts to build in front of you. And because you don't care if you're going to get fired or not, you can really just show up free in every moment and watch and observe, and because you're not at odds with how it goes either way, then it works flawlessly usually. Um, and that person that's out of balance will, just like in martial arts, when somebody goes to strike you, they're actually creating an opening that's really dangerous. if a martial artist is not seeking to strike you and knows how to use a different form of martial arts than you, creating an opening by striking is everything. And that's the same principle in these situations. When that tyrant goes for the final blow, that's the moment you are able to bring things into balance, because they will overstep themselves, because you're not a they the fact that you don't ruffle, that your feathers aren't ruffled by these people, that they can't see you lose your center because you're not, it makes them lose their center. And then they will overdo it, and then they lose their job instead of you. So that it's, and then everybody gets the benefit of that, and nobody really even has to know how that happened. They just think, oh, that was weird, I wonder how the president lost his job. But if they were to look into the details, they would find out, oh, that all went down because of this one event that happened to be because of me. And the, I don't mind being that guy. And then I ended up leaving that job because I didn't carry the way. And then I got sent and gifted something really incredible, like a karmic thank you. Showed up and just answered my phone. Oh, yeah, okay. And, so I'm at work making a lot of money, but I don't really honestly have to do anything, because the way I run my jobs is I don't carry this stuff. I have instead of maintaining a basic inventory where I have to uphold my linear reality, I just am very organized, and then I let it go. So it's always there. The information's there. I don't have to carry it in my mind. I don't have to worry or stress or think. And even if even those things that you would normally have to keep that are separate from the lists or whatever, however you organize, I don't have to keep those either, because I trust my intuition will always be, oh yeah, shit, I got to do that one thing, and that always works. Therefore, I don't have to lose any sleep. I don't have to feel or wake up going, oh, I forgot to do something. And I'm not at odds with losing my job, but I do my best anyways, because I care for whoever's going to take over for me if I were. So I'm always doing it as if I'm the guy that's going to be here tomorrow, but I'm also doing it as if I'm not going to be the guy that's here tomorrow. And so it's always my last day, and I'm always free, and I'm always just open to what each moment brings. And I know that sounds insane. And it's not like I'm not reliable or consistent. I am, and I do care and would give notice and won't do those things. But I have to live that way in order to be true to my purpose, true to my abstract flight, because I'm moving toward service. Because to be of service is to just not be a slave. And there's only those options here. And I don't think people get that. If you want to stop being a slave, then you have to be of service. There's no other option. And if you guys know of another one, I'd love to hear what it is. But when you really come to terms with how things work, that's the key. So that's amazing once you discover that, because it feels incredible to be of service. And being of service doesn't mean you go around trying to help people. It means that you go inward and you're willing to do the work that would make you, a responsible, capable, pragmatic, practical, aware, conscious individual that can be, have common sense in a chaotic world of nonsense and lies and projections. That's being of service. So I'm not here. I'm sharing because I've been asked to. I'm happy to share. It doesn't bother me to share or not to share. But if it's of service, then it's of service, and I'm hearing that it is for people. It serves them, and so that's all that's needed. And so you can do this. Everybody can be of service. It's just finding out what it is that is being asked of you. It's usually being asked of you. You just don't know it. It may be your grandmother. It may be your uncle. It may be someone you're at odds with, and they're asking for something. Well, maybe the healing that you need in your life is tied to how you resolve that. I don't think people realize how much emotion they have, especially when the joy shows up for a dreamer or for people that are like lucid. The amount of joy that happens is so strong that you find out how many tears you really do have inside of you. There's a lot. I don't think most people have ever dug a grave and put themselves in the earth and given all of their pain to the mother either. So I don't think most people realize how much there is in there, because the mother will pull it out. It gets scary when you're in there. You're like, oh, I had no idea. It's a reservoir. And again, when you're in there and she heals you like that, you have to be sure to stay until she fills you, because you were living off of all that energy. You have to stay for a while until you absolutely feel like you're floating, because she will give you all fresh, brand new energy that we were meant to have all along. We're meant to make this exchange with her every day, right? Not at 19 when you've let all that energy get built up. But I'm lucky to have done it at 19. Most people have never done it. So I recommend working toward it, and so much purpose. If you don't have purpose in your life, will come from getting to know yourself through the mother, through the food you eat. Touch and feel the food you eat whole foods, whole cucumber, just eat it. Just, eat things that are whole, or juice them. Yeah. And then get to know what your body feels like when it's just taking in the mother. And then sit with her, go out and be with her alone. Not with your dogs, alone, where there's no sounds. And listen to the birds until, you can hear the patterns, and listen to the rain. Observe the rain. Use if you a little microdosing or a little cannabis or something, but try to get to the place where you can softly see the world start to rearrange itself in a beautiful way. It's fog and the mist, the sun, catching rainbows, finding those places, getting yourself out there. Again, feet on the earth, grounding, taking your shoes off, asking, putting your chest, your heart to the earth, rubbing your heart every day. Because it's hard to get it open. You'll realize, oh shit, that's not enough to really open it all the time. I just learned this from a naturopath. And naturopaths most of them are insanely uneducated and don't understand anything, and aren't telling us the truth about how diets work. They don't know it, but the Garden of Eden diet, is the only thing that's actually legit. Everything else is a lie, and I don't know why anyone else tells you anything else, but we just aren't supposed to be eating substances that are difficult to move through our body, like rice and grains and things that just don't move through your body. So it was never meant for things to eat a lot of. Maybe it's fine to eat now and again, and it is if you are careful, but cooked food, unfortunately, dehydrates you so much. Then the reason we get disease is because of dehydration, and it's hard to get healthy water. The vortex in the water has to be living, has to be structured water, and the only way to make sure that that's happening really is through juicing fruit, because fruit has, it structures its water. Fruit juice has the best water in the world in it. So you don't need to drink water when you're fully juicing fruit. You'll notice that you just aren't needing water. But when you're detoxing and you're not, there's all kinds of stages. So these are factors to take in, like when you're ready, you'll be able to heal your body once you get over your addictions. It feels so good to be free of addiction, and I know it's so difficult. And it's okay with whatever addictions you have and where they're at. And I hope you can transition just super slowly. And, if you need to use my words as a gauge to sort of, I'll serve as a reminder of opportunities that it's okay to be where you're at. Be sure to have fun with whatever you're doing. Bring it into balance, Use a little less of what you're doing so that you're more respectful with it and it's more beautiful. Or make it, something powerful. Like instead of doing whatever you're doing, go make it more. Like with tobacco, I would literally, I mean, don't do this, but if you're crazy, you do this. You just take whatever, cut off the filter of a cigarette. And ideally, it's a natural cigarette, like American Spirit, but you want to just hit it as hard as you can over and over and over. And you'll leave your body, you'll have an astral body experience unless you puke. So if you can handle getting through that stage without puking, it's one of the most powerful power plants that exists. And so using that in the wilderness, I was able to do crazy things where I learned about, moving in dynamic ways and learning to perceive things in incredible capacities. So like when you get quiet in the woods, you can start to look like far away, and then you start to feel as if you're far away because you're looking far away. It's like you can zoom in. And it's through the art of gazing that you learn this, but you start to allow things that wouldn't normally occur to be possible. And especially when you're alone, the world can get kind of disassociated, and that can get a little uncomfortable. And I'm not saying, I don't want you guys to all get to disassemble your perception entirely, but start to soften it. Start to look at the world from a lighter way and a lighter perspective, and start to spend more and more time in silence in whatever way you can. If you need to use meditation tapes, I'm going to actually offer some of that eventually, offer some very deep guided meditations. They'll be really powerful, really different. And then, but you can make your own. You can really get honest about the things that do it for you and start to track why does this do it for me and why doesn't this do it for me. Try to figure out what your issues are around being open to other things. And we're all going through a lot. Those of us that are tapped in, we're feeling a lot of change daily, hourly. It's good to be, tapped in and be in touch with your purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, the journey to discovering your purpose is through, talking to people that have purpose, hearing from people who have purpose, and just grabbing your own head around what it is that you truly want. Like, what is your longing, and where does it stem from? And so, like, people refer to your dharma as what you're here to do, and that you knew your dharma at a certain point when you got here, but you've lost your dharma, and that's okay. I have too. I'm still, open to discovering all of what I'm here to do. Your purpose will liberate you. Yeah, it'll take away all the material projections, hopefully. Sometimes this happens if you fall in love. You fall in love with someone so much that you'd be willing to live in a hole in the ground with them. You just realize that there's just nothing matters. But that's a really dangerous thing to have happen, because then you think your purpose is that person, and that's not sustainable. So it's a trippy thing. The evolution eventually does lead to a partner, which is very cool. To reach the higher levels, of travel, dimensional travel, you do so, in having joined and become one with another. And we are here to find that other. But it doesn't happen for everyone, and for sorcerers and shamans, it often does not happen at all. But they would never trade a normal like unconscious relationship for their shamanic life. They choose to be lucid over, unconscious. So it sucks, but you have to come to terms with that it's not worth playing house, if you're called to do this work. You can't get away with it for a while. And you'll learn a lot, especially if you're willing to read the books, Castaneda books, and understand about controlled folly and how to, it's hard to understand those books, but um, there are some there's some ways in which one can be so in their heart and so balanced on their path that nothing there's no reason to ever be at odds with your situation. So you find balance in every moment. And you can do that throughout your life, and you just quit being a victim. You just keep resolving things without attachment to the outcome. It's just incredible. Most people that quit being victims, they're like, I fix everything and I do everything because everyone's a victim. But that they're attached to the outcome and they want recognition. And I don't know how to explain this, but if you're seeking recognition in this world, you're fucked. You can't. If the reason you give to charity is because somebody sees you giving to charity, then you're not giving to charity. You're self-serving, right? So we have to learn how to do this differently. When you truly are giving, then it's just out of the generosity of your soul and spirit, and you're just in the moment. It's not uh, anything else, and there's no other way to be. But that's just kind of really rare. Most people are so focused on the self that they have to post it on Facebook that they did something or whatever. And it's a terrible burden to be that way, to have gone your whole life and never gotten past like a junior high mentality. And that's honestly kind of the case. And so that's okay. You know, I got traumatized at a young age, so a part of me is very much stuck and working through all that because I have powerful people that can call me out on the parts of me that aren't developed. Yeah, so I'm more of like, if for men, there's like the warrior, king, lover, magician, and I've definitely ended up more in the lover warrior aspect of things. I mean, lover magician. I've spent my time in the mystical and the affection levels and the sensuality and the psychedelics and the music scene and dancing and celebration and intensities, and it's been incredible. And so I'm in because of the Toltec training, I've done a lot of warrior training as well. But the king part is the leadership part that even as a father, I wasn't, I was young. I started young and I was in and out of really intense shamanic apprenticeships during the time I was raising kids. And um, unfortunately, I wasn't dancing in my own dance. I wasn't thinking my own thoughts. I had other people influencing the way that I saw the future in the world. And that took away from my gnosis, my inner gnosis. And I missed out on a lot of really amazing opportunities. But it also made me a really unique person, and I got me to where I am so that I can be a balancing factor in my kid's life later in life. And it's tricky, I didn't I don't regret anything. I had an opportunity to do things differently, I would have. Um, but as I work to develop my being, that brings into balance through epigenetics. My kids are gonna have a better chance at not having to work through so many issues as uh, as they would if I did just were to just drink and just check out and just say I'm out. I'm just gonna do my job and pay the bills. Like, that's not going to cut it. In fact, you have to be willing to quit your job and find other ways if your job's starting to turn you into something you don't want to be. There's always a way. Um, Thanks, guys.